Hi, beautiful people. Welcome to the Fort Salem Library, where we read you your fanfiction. So sit down or don't, relax or don't, and enjoy these stories in a way you have not before. We at Fort Salem Library do not own Motherland Fort Salem or any of the related characters. The Motherland Fort Salem series is created by Elliot Lawrence and owned by Freeform. This story is a work of fanfiction and is meant for entertainment only. We are not making any profit from these stories. All rights of the original Motherland Fort Salem story belong to Freeform. We also do not own She Told You, or any of its original characters and storylines. We did, however, get permission from the author to read their story. This story was created and written by fab_fan, and you can find the link in our show notes. This story is being read to you by Celine.
She told you. She told you what you needed to hear. She told you what you needed to hear. She told you, needed to hear, wanted, needed. She told you. Isn't real, spree. She told you she... The thin mattress rattled like a thunderstorm as Rael's boots smashed into the floor, body catapulting upward fast enough to make the world spin, if it wasn't already upside down and off its axis already. Tellie's head whipped up from where she was crouched by her locker, carefully putting away her skirt and preparing to shower once Abigail got back from scrubbing up. Rael ignored the wide eyes and open mouth, the same way she ignored the way her own body trembled, the way her head ached and her heart throbbed, and her arms felt numb. God, she told you. She told you she... Ray? Telly cautiously watched the blonde. Rael shook her head. She... I have to go. Ray? I'll be back. Unsteady fingers roughly grabbed her jacket, the jacket that still had a tiny hole in it from when she crashed into the beach. Still smelled of salt and sea and desperation, of love, of... She told you. It's lights out, I know. Rael jammed her arms through the sleeves and pushed her way to the door. She didn't look back, marched through the corridors, down the stairs, out the door into the twilight, into the fresh air that scorched her lungs. Scorched the empty, bottomless hole that felt like a boulder was pressing into it, harder and harder, a rock so big it would crush her, consumed her chest. A dull, yet screaming, empty ache that took over and weighed her down to the ground, made her wheeze and gurgle and croak, heavier and heavier. No longer surrounded by walls or doors, her lungs begged to breathe. She could smell the flowers, the same flowers that Scylla gave to her after Beltane, when they talked. She told you. When Scylla told her she liked her, needed to hear. She couldn't breathe, over and over again. It rattled in her head, played like a broken record. Like the record her pop would put on when her mama came home. They would dance in the moonlight the first night the older witch returned from deployment. Every time. In each other's arms, close, comfortable, content. Happy. So damn happy. In love and finally able to be together. Every time. Until... her mama didn't come back. Until the record got broken and the pieces tossed into a bin in the shed because her dad couldn't get rid of it. Neither of them could get rid of it. The reminder of a lost love. Love, she told you. Scylla said she loved her. Rael believed her, felt her heart flutter, knew she felt the same, knew she wanted the moonlit dance, a record they both adored and holding each other close. She wanted to sway with the brunette like they did at the wedding every day for the rest of her life. Instead, she was stumbling through the night, the moon barely there, the stars covered, their brightness dimmed, drowned out by the ocean of despair and the oncoming storm. Alone. Scylla was gone. She told you. Scylla was a lie. It was all a lie. All of it. Spree. Scylla. Scylla. The cuffs of her trousers were stained with the tears of the grass, just like her cheeks were scarred with the tears she refused to let fall, refused to show the world. She pushed them back, sniffed and wiped at her nose, her mouth, her face, wiped away the sadness, the hopelessness, the absolute devastation. She pushed back at the way her throat closed up tight, the way her chest burned, hurt so damn much. The way her mind got cloudy, foggy. The same darkness that decimated the stars and the moon clenched at her brain, at her thoughts, swallowed it up. She didn't want to think about it, about her. She didn't ever want to think about it, deal with it, admit it. The pain, the grief. Yet it plagued her. It was all that broke through the haze. Scylla, she told you. I love you. Her fist swung at the large tree before she even realized where she was, what she was doing. She threw the punch at the voices, the memories, the taunting, haunted, ghostly past, present, and future that wouldn't leave her alone, no matter how hard she tried to ignore it. Forget about it. Pretend it wasn't there. Her hand flung out at the tree, their tree, the tree she kissed Scylla beneath, where she made vows she swore to herself to never break, where she promised Scylla she would be there beside her, with her, no matter what. Her knuckles cracked against the ancient bark, skin splintered, blood broke free, poured out of her the way she didn't let the tears. The pain ricocheted up her arm. So much pain. God damn it. Bits of wood dug into her wound. She didn't care. Didn't care that she might have broken her hand, her wrist, her entire life. Broken. Like the record. Smashed to pieces and tossed aside. Only good when useful. Scylla only wanted her for one thing. Only wanted her because she was told to, told that Raelle was useful. She told you. Gasping, Raelle crumbled. The weight on her chest, the boulder, became too much. The gaping, open, invisible wound in her chest became too much. It all became too much. Her knees hit the wet, soggy ground, squelched in mud and hell. Her bloody hand clawed at her chest, at her shirt, at her soul. She told you. She wanted to be angry, to rage, to take all this hurt and confusion and goddamn love and roar. She wanted to fight, punch and kick and tear apart the world, make it feel her agony. She needed to be angry, to fight, the same way she fought at City Drop, the same way she ran after the Scylla lookalike, took her out, beat her, made her bleed. Blood flecked Raelle's shirt, streamed down to her wrist, her arm, wove into the fabric of her jacket. The blonde's head fell forward. She sucked in short gasps. She told you. It was all a lie. She loved Scylla, and Scylla lied. Lied about who she was, about what she felt, lied and lied and lied. Rael knew better, knew something was wrong, off. She knew from the start. When Scylla refused to talk to her, refused to open up, kissed her and fucked her, but wouldn't even tell Rael one thing about herself, Rael knew there were signs. But she stayed, because she loved Scylla, wanted her, wanted to be with her, be there for her. She wanted to give Scylla so damn much. Show her that the brunette had someone by her side, always, no matter what. That the world may have hurt her, stolen her parents, her childhood, her trust and belief in people. But she could trust Rael. Loyal, blind, dumb Rael, who fell in love and was played like a damn fiddle. Her mama told her she'd get herself in trouble, cared too much, too easily. Same way she did as a kid, giving a flower to a girl who scoffed and only wanted her for one thing, to have a bit of fun. Rael stopped believing too, like Scylla had. She didn't believe she'd get the moonlight dances or tender glances. She wasn't her mom and dad. Hell, they didn't even get it, in the end. No. And like them, she wasn't even going to get a taste of happiness, of love, of dreams. She was going to die young. That was her fate. And the pain, and the agony. There was no way out. She'd end up like her mama, one way or another. Why make her pop suffer even more? Make him sit waiting by a phone for months, years, wondering when he'd get the call. Why make herself lose everything? Be exhausted and torn apart like her mama was. Deployed so much she never saw home, never knew where she was, except that it was a place full of death and loss. The army ate you up and spat you out. No one cared, especially about a half-witch session nobody, a shitbird. Rael huffed, hand throbbing. She thought she found it with Scylla. She met the other girl and she felt something she'd never felt before. She felt hope. Scylla gave her hope, a reason to be, a reason to stick around, to not go through with her hot garbage plan. It was blurry, hard to see sometimes, but when she felt Scylla curl into her arms and ocean blue eyes twinkled, she could see the future they might have, could have. She saw them in her dreams, fantasies, daydreams, where Scylla met her dad, where they went to the beach, watched the boats and explored the lighthouse, swam in the ocean, where they got ice cream at the diner and took the long way home, where Ray had someone to think about as she prepared to deploy, someone to come back for. She forgot about her plan to end the pain because Scylla gave her hope that one day the pain would not be there like it was now. Hope. What a joke. It was all a joke. Scylla lied. Scylla didn't love her. She never loved her. She told you. Scylla pretended to be Helen Graves to get Rael to stay when she thought she might lose her. Took on a different face. Lied. Got her to stay. Porter. Scylla lied about so damn much. Rael couldn't trust anything. Her memories, her thoughts, her feelings. Was any of it real? Any of it? The brush of a palm against bare skin? The hushed whisper beneath a blanket? The shared looks? The... Shit. Rael tumbled forward, shoulder twisting around as her back hit the scratchy, roughened base of the tree. She tilted her head back and inhaled deeply, choked on the sob. She would have done anything for Scylla, would have gone anywhere for her, was ready to run, ready to leave everything behind to be hers. She cared about her friends, her unit, Tally, Abigail, the rest, her dad. If Scylla asked, she'd take her hand and follow her somewhere else. What an idiot. She was so stupid, so damn stupid. Scylla was free, sent to recruit Rael, to grab her, something. Scylla told her she loved her. Why? Why her? Why did Scylla do this? How could all of it be a lie? It couldn't be. Could it? Scylla couldn't pretend all the time, could she? Look Rael in the eye and kiss her without it meaning something? How could she let Rael take her hand, lift it to her lips, kiss the back of it, and not feel anything? How could she share her bed with Rael, make love with her, and not feel an ounce of emotion? How could she fake the tremble in her voice when she told Rael she liked her? How could she touch Rael the way she did, and it all be for nothing? Because she was ordered to? Rael bit down hard on her bottom lip, fought against the tears, closed her eyes. Rael was weak. Scylla knew it. Dead mom, broken, ready to die. An easy mark. Stupid. So stupid. Rael walked right into it, believed it, took one look at those beautiful blue eyes and was a goner. A goner. Damn it. Rael coughed. She loved her. She loved Scylla. Loved her so much. Scylla didn't love her back. Never loved her back. The boulder pressed down on her chest, deeper and deeper, heavier, pushing out the last bit of air, of life, of trust and hope and believe, of will. The blonde didn't hear the squish of footsteps in the dewy grass, didn't hear the quiet sigh or worried murmur. She didn't hear anything except Anacastia's voice, Scylla's voice, Helen's voice, so many voices. She told you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Spree. Rael. The fixer jerked as a soft hand gently touched her shoulder. Her chin snapped down, and she blinked through blurry eyes. Tally crouched down in front of her, hand on the blonde's shoulder, and a tremulous, understanding twist of her lips, reflecting in the muted moonlight. Over her shoulder stood Abigail, mouth a thin line, but eyes concerned. Rael sniffed and rubbed her eyes. We should go. Abigail frowned as Tally lightly grasped the wrist of the bloody hand. It's late. Tally pressed the pad of her thumb against the jut of Rael's wrist. Come on, Ray. Let's go back to the room. I'm fine. You're bleeding, Abigail pointed out. Rael shrugged. She didn't want to go back to the room, back to her bed, where she'd dream about blue eyes and a gorgeous smile. About lies. She wanted to sit there and pretend, be consumed, weak and broken and hidden from judgment and accusations and the guilt burrowed in her veins. Tally peeked over her shoulder at the bellwether before nodding to herself. She slipped around and sat next to Rael, shoulder pressed against the blonde's. Abigail stared at them for a moment, before exhaling and lowering herself to the ground to sit on the fixer's other side. Here, give me that. Abigail gestured to the injured hand. I'm fine, Rael croaked. I'm not letting you get an infection right before we graduate. Let her help you, Rael, Tally murmured, palm falling onto her friend's knee. You suck at fixing, Rael grumbled, but gratefully let her hand come to rest in Abigail's. I'm good enough to save your ass. Rael pressed her lips together. The tears finally fell. In the dark, the stars all but gone, and the moon a sliver, the trio huddled together, Abigail holding the broken hand, while Telly looped her arm around Rael's shoulders and kissed her temple. In the morning, none of them would mention the way Rael silently cried, the way there were tiny scars along her knuckles, but the torn flesh was stitched back together, the way Telly never let her go, and Abigail was strong and sturdy while her friend sunk so low, helping to catch her and give her something to hold on to. They only shared a look over breakfast, Rael trying to find the words. Telly smiled and got her coffee, while Abigail shoved a bowl of cereal in front of her and called her shitbird. The pain was still there. Rael doubted it would ever go away. But for a brief moment, the briefest of moments, she didn't feel alone with it. She would refuse to talk about it, think about it. She would focus on her training, on her unit, on the army that would chew her up and spit her out, but also gave her friends, family, a home, a purpose. A purpose to put the emotions she bottled up inside the deep, dark hole in her chest to use for. Jaw clenched and eyes sharp, she'd refuse to talk about Scylla. She'd run the obstacle course and stand by Telly and Abigail as they faced the aftermath of everything. That is, until Anacostia called out to her as the unit walked back towards the mess hall after their morning training. Speaking of Scylla,
please find the fanfiction you just listened to on Archive of Our Own and leave the author some love. Without them, this wouldn't be possible, and we want to thank them from the bottoms of our hearts for creating these amazing stories and keeping the show alive.